You're sitting across the dinner table. The plates are half cleared. The fork clinks against porcelain. They're looking right at you, but their eyes feel distant. That heavy quiet settles in your chest. You wonder why this keeps happening. You ask yourself if this is just how love ages. You stare at your own hands. You worry you're the problem. The relationship didn't get harder because your love faded. It got harder because your safety did. You're not failing at love. This is not a sign you chose the wrong person. Every couple that has ever loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing right now. By the end of this video, you will recognize the 5 quiet ways an avoidant actually shows up when they love you. You will learn how to read their nervous system instead of fighting it. Let's get into it. Most couples believe that real attachment must always look loud, consistent, and emotionally fluent from day one. But the real truth is that when an avoidant feels genuine connection, the love doesn't disappear when pressure rises. It goes underground. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. When safety feels fragile, closeness starts to register as a threat. So they don't pull back because they stopped caring. They pull back because their internal alarm just activated. What looks like stonewalling is usually someone who has been so overwhelmed for so long that silence is the only protection they have left. Trying harder will only push them deeper into survival mode. You cannot chase someone who is trying to regulate. You anchor them by becoming steady. When you understand this, the confusion stops completely. The patterns start making sense, and every quiet behavior transforms from rejection into a nervous system reaching out in the only language it still trusts. Here's the part no one talks about: the quiet perimeter. Most couples mistake physical closeness for emotional availability. They wait for constant eye contact. They wait for long hugs. They wait for verbal reassurance. That expectation drains the room entirely. For an avoidant, intimacy isn't built in crowded moments. It's built in the 30-second ones where they simply stay near. Their nervous system craves your presence but fears engulfment. So they don't crowd you. They guard the space. They position themselves just close enough to keep you in their peripheral vision. Most people in relationships read this distance as indifference. They're actually watching to see if the room still feels safe. You can demand immediate emotional processing and sit right against their shoulder, asking why they won't just talk to you. Or you can leave the door open, dim the lights, and let them settle beside you without pressure. When she realizes she doesn't need him to fix this, she just stays. That's when the walls between you start to soften, without either of you having to say a word. And this is the one most couples never figure out: practical care language. Most couples believe love must be spoken in grand confessions. They wait for poetic declarations. They wait for scheduled emotional check-ins. That rhythm feels heavy to an avoidant brain. Their attachment wiring translates care into action before it reaches language. They show up through logistics, through remembering your coffee order, through fixing the wobbly shelf you mentioned weeks ago. Beneath the surface, their nervous system is translating "I care" into "I will make your day run smoother." Not louder conversations, not more compromising, not scheduling weekly therapy talks, but two people who actually feel safe enough to read between the lines for the first time in months. You can brush off the small gesture and tell yourself that's just what you do anyway. Or you can notice the quiet effort and simply say thank you for remembering. Something in him is quietly registering that she actually heard me this time. That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. Here's where it gets really interesting: the controlled withdrawal. Most couples treat distance like a betrayal. They assume space means the connection is breaking. They panic. They text repeatedly. They demand answers in real time. That response floods their nervous system instantly. An avoidant who actually loves you will step back, but they will not abandon. They regulate first. They return with clarity instead of punishment. Their brain needs silence to untangle the knot. Emotional distance in a relationship isn't like a wall. It's like scar tissue that forms slowly over 100 small moments that never got repaired. Stepping away is their way of preventing that tissue from thickening. Most couples read the pause as rejection. They're actually protecting the bond from their own reactivity. You can follow them down the hall and demand exactly where they are going. Or you can give them 20 minutes, let them reset, and return with a calm voice saying, "I'm here when you're ready." That's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. But here's what nobody explains. Third-party vulnerability. Most couples expect vulnerability to arrive face-to-face. They wait for raw confessions. They wait for tearful breakthroughs. That direct exposure triggers their defense circuits instantly. An avoidant who is deeply invested will share their inner world indirectly. They'll forward you an article about childhood wounds. They'll mention a friend's struggle that quietly mirrors their own. They'll talk about a movie scene that mirrors what they can't say aloud. Their nervous system is testing the water before diving in. Most couples dismiss this as casual sharing. They're actually handing you a map. And here's what changes everything. You can push past the metaphor and demand exactly what they're really trying to say. Or you can acknowledge the signal and say that sounds really close to what we're feeling. What's moving through him is, I forgot how good it feels to be chosen. And when you do that, the unspoken longing finally gets a place to rest. Honestly, man, this one matters the most. Unspoken consistency. Most couples chase intensity constantly. They mistake passion for permanence. They confuse fireworks with foundation. That chase exhausts an avoidant system. Real love shows up in the boring moments. It shows up when they remember to pay the bill without being asked. It shows up when they stay in the room during an uncomfortable silence. It shows up when they don't vanish after a disagreement, but simply wait until the storm passes. Their attachment pattern isn't built on grand gestures. It's built on predictable presence. Most couples overlook this because it lacks drama. They're actually experiencing the quietest form of devotion. Your nervous system in a conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot tell the difference between your partner raising their voice and actual danger, so it sounds the alarm regardless. Consistency resets that alarm. You can keep score of who loves harder and measure connection by intensity, or you can notice the steady return and say, I see you showing up. This isn't a communication hack. This is just what two emotionally mature people naturally do when they choose each other daily. And when you practice that quiet reliability, the drift stops completely. You stop feeling like strangers in your own home. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to show up differently. When you internalize this, you stop reacting to distance and start responding to it. Your partner will feel the shift in your tone before you've even changed your routine. You are becoming the kind of person who understands that safety builds faster than speed ever will. And that awareness changes everything about what's possible between you and the person you chose. These aren't tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. Real intimacy doesn't start when you find the right person. It starts when you decide to become one.